Welcome to Clarity Quote to Cash podcast. I'm Karyna Mihalevich, your host today. My guest is Vivien Boche, SAP BTP evangelist and master of storytelling, future of work advisor council, and the person who encourages women to shine in STEAM. Whether she is sharing explanation of SAP's latest innovations, discussing books that she read, or providing insights from SAP events, Vivien has the skills for making complex information engaging. When we decided to deep dive into SAP's business AI strategy on CLARITY.SHOW, I knew that Vivien would be the perfect guest. Her ability to connect technical capabilities with practical business outcomes is exactly what our listeners need to navigate the AI transformation questions. Vivien, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to discussing our topic, but first I will let you to introduce yourself.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. Yes, I'm Vivien Boche and I'm Senior Director of the SAP Business Technology Platform for the region EMEA, and thereby I'm part of a black belt team. So we know a lot about the technology and we can either tell it in very much detail or fly on a very high level. And how I also like to explain my role to other people is that I say that I'm an extroverted nerd. So somebody who really likes to dive into technical details, but then also can communicate them on various different levels that I just mentioned before. So thereby, as part of my role, I support our customers on their digital transformation. And in addition, I lead our BTP for AI for the region, where I engage in business development and also enablement. And yeah, I'm very glad to be here today and share my experiences with you.
Amazing. Vivien, before we deep dive into SAP's business AI vision and strategy, could you help our audience understand what exactly business AI and what makes business AI valuable for enterprises?
So our business AI strategy is really that we are believing, because SAP is a business process company, and we believe to embed AI into these various different processes to make it as easy as possible for our customers to leverage AI. So what we mean by this is that you, for example, take one process, the hire to retire process. So you obviously need to hire some of your employees. And we are looking at these different processes, which are spanning over 27 industries where we have different customers in, and we identify where does it make the most sense to embed AI in it, so any of these tasks that you need to do get either more efficient or also more effective with the help of AI, but still in regard that it is responsible. So we have these three guiding principles: relevant, responsible, and reliable. And what we mean by this is with every AI that we are developing, ideally you want it to be relevant. So it's not answering you any questions about what's for dinner tonight or anything. You want really the answer to what your business problem is about. It should be reliable in the sense that it doesn't hallucinate. So it doesn't come up with any kind of questions that you don't want it to have, right? You want ideally to have questions that make sense to you so that you have you really get the answers based on your business data or like the information that you have. And responsible, well, it should form all of the different AI guidelines, different AI policies that you have set out, or maybe all the other kind of regulations. So with these kind of three guiding principles, we're looking at the whole process of where we're engaging and where we can support our customers to make really AI for businesses.
I like the 3R approach, especially speaking about the relevant. We will cover it a bit more later because we have also prepared one questions related to how keep the data right when users start to adopt AI in enterprises. Speaking about BTP, could you explain the role that SAP Business Technology Platform, BTP, plays in implementing AI solutions?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting one because, as you know, I love the business technology platform. So as a business technology platform, for somebody who's maybe technology foundation, that has like 5 main pillars where you can develop applications, where you can create automations, where you can create integrations between different applications. You can also have a lot of data and analytics areas where, how, for example, how to get your data ready for AI. And the last but not least, it is AI in itself. So think about this like tool platform where you have various different services that you can use for any kind of, maybe for example, building an extension or building a great nice dashboard, or again connecting different applications together. So it's this one platform, and this platform, as I mentioned before, is this technology foundation that underpins a variety of the other different line of business solutions that we're offering. And because it's such a technology foundation, we actually at SAP use it to build also our AI. So for example, you may have heard about Joule, our co-pilot for businesses, or I've just mentioned that we're looking into the different processes and embed AI into these. All of this obviously needs to have some tools, needs to have some service to be able to build it. Well, this is what we do with a business technology platform. We're using these different capabilities that are that are there, that we then can provide and build these, I would say, more on a serving on a silver platter. You can activate them and make them ready for your use. But the interesting part with it is that obviously we build them into our product. And again, kind of it's more of an activation, not an implementation, not a training or anything else. But at the same time, we actually give you these tools that we use to build our own AI that we put into the different software. We give you the same tools that you can also build things yourself. So therefore, the business technology platform functions as this foundation for AI.
Wow, great. It sounds like it's like holistic approach to AI implementation, and both like either users or using what is available out of the box, they can enhance their functionalities, especially in SAP landscape with BTP platform. And especially important that you even provide possibility to get data ready for AI implementation with BTP. Okay, how does SAP BTP help organization maintain data quality? This is follow-up question on data readiness. So governance while implementing AI solutions.
Yeah. So obviously one of the big topics that always comes up when we talk about AI is also how do you get your data ready, right? So one of the major things that the business technology platform also offers is various different tools to actually thing is that often customers do not have just one data producing application in their organization. They have several. They have a heterogeneous landscape. But how do you actually harmonize your data together? How do you bring it in such a form that you actually then can build, for example, an AI extension on top? That you can maybe then kind of use this data that you want so that the AI doesn't hallucinate. And that's where we provide a lot of different tools from our, like one product is called SAP DataSphere that really helps to harmonize your data across these various different landscapes. We have another tool that is our SAP HANA Cloud product, which is our database solution, where again, we also help you by, for example, providing you with various different ways of how you can prepare your data, how you can model your data. For example, in the SAP HANA Cloud, we have something that's called a vector engine that, if I would say it in really simple terms, is just a way that the data you have, then to make it into a format that large language models can understand it and then can perform a search on it, a similarity search based on the query or like the question that you have put forward, that the large language model can come back with the right answer to this. So basically, whichever data or information you want the large language model to use, this somehow needs to get provided to them. And this is, for example, again, ways which we are using or preparing and helping you with your data. In terms of the governance, well, because a lot of this actually, as I mentioned, we use the business technology platform ourselves to build things on it. And because it's this one umbrella platform, it actually comes with a lot of built-in security, built-in governance, and all of these different things because it's part of this platform. So that's always where we say you don't need to worry too much about these things because it's part of there that is, again, taking care of. Similar again with this whole business AI approach, right? We believe that it should be as easy as possible for you to use AI with not needing to start, okay, where would it even make sense the most to like implement AI? Which large language model should I maybe use for it? What are the prerequisites? What are the different guidances, policies that I need to follow? This is again this whole approach that it comes for you out of the box by again coming back to the silver plate. But I was mentioning before that you also can do the whole custom AI yourself. Obviously, then you need to think about, okay, where does it make sense? But still, because as part of this platform, you get a lot of these things that I just was mentioning before about also authentication, security, governance, right? All of these lovely parts, you get that already. So you don't need to worry about these things. And I think one really big thing also to mention as part of our business technology platform, we have something that's called the Generative AI Hub. And the Generative AI Hub gives you access to over 25 leading large language models on the market, right? Just to name a few, GPT, Mistral, Gemini, and so on, right? And which one is maybe then the best that you want to use for your project, right? You can just easily kind of switch between them. So for example, internally at SAP, we have our own playground where I can just like put a question in, select one model, and then, okay, this is the answer. But then I switched to another model and was like, oh, I actually like this answer much better. So this is actually how we internally can already use our own software, which also you can also do this yourself if you were interested in it, providing such a playground. But just thinking about the variety of different large language models and which one to use is always a big question mark. So why not trying it out and seeing the results and then building something yourself if you were interested about building your custom AI.
So fascinating. Like you provide a kind of legal constructor, and everybody can build whatever they need to solve their own either personal problems, like professional personal problems, or build something for department, for entire organization. So you give opportunity and users to drive what problems they want to solve with AI, and with such large numbers of different varieties of generative AI models or whatever they need to use for AI, it becomes possible. And I like how you explained about the knowledge bases that internally enterprise can have, and how with embeddings we can enhance functionalities of large language models, having these vector databases, and at the same time reduce hallucinations and provide context. Like foundational models, they're definitely good in terms of understanding some basic scenarios, but when it comes to some specific industry use cases, here where we can utilize this internal knowledge base and enhance the answers, response that we get from AI. Amazing. Can you share some insights from the real customers, case studies on successful implementations of AI in BTP platform from BTP Innovation Day?
Yeah, so I can't share all of them. You should obviously probably can come to our next one, because we are not always can share everything afterwards. But one which I have seen already was a blog post published on our SAP blogs, was a use case with Vodafone. And they had a really interesting one where they also wanted to combine several different data points for the financing area. And they were like, okay, but how do we also follow some of the guidelines? How are we bringing our own data into this area? So there's a lot of, again, these questions about how do we make whatever we have here, because we have identified this is the area where we feel like, and some kind of like natural language way where you can ask questions would be really helpful. But obviously we don't want this large language model just to hallucinate. So how are we bringing our own data into the picture? And this is where Vodafone built a really great use case in their area of finance. And it was interesting to see how they've like, again, showed live videos on how they've recorded and the answers of the use case. Again, I do not want to go too much into the details of it, but I just wanted to point that out. There's a great blog article published out there. But just roughly speaking, in terms of the technology also that we're using, they have went in and actually we worked together with them, and they have identified, okay, we want to build something that is using more of a natural language query way to get answers, and they were not really sure how to go about it. So we were engaging with them on a POC. We built something first of our own services, and then we went further and put it then on their instances. We again used their different data points. They gave us all of the different documentation that they were interested in. We helped them to facilitate this and build this like functioning a model on their side, where then again they are uploading the different documents. You were just talking about embeddings and the vector engine, right, of how these documents then get translated so that the large language model can pick these things up. again, also often comes up the question, okay, what happens with this data there, and it's sent to a large language model, and what is happening? Well, we have agreements with these vendors that they can process the query, and we have data masking capabilities and various other things of how to have a secure data privacy policy in place there as well. But in addition, we do have these agreements with the large language models vendors that, first of all, they can obviously process a query because you want to get an answer, but they can't store it and they can't use it for retraining purposes. And this obviously is a big game changer when you think about all of the data that customers want to provide there. So that also was one of the arguments that obviously Vodafone really liked. So we have to build out the POC. We showed them the value that they could get out of it. And it was really inspiring to see them standing up on the SAP BTP Innovation Day and sharing these experiences and what their journey was and how to get there, and in terms of their learnings that they really liked in terms of how quickly something was happened, like how quickly we could show them already some kind of form of value, which again was first of the POC side that we built, but then also later on the stages of how we brought it over to their different instances. So overall, again, I can highly encourage you to come out to our next one, because it will be happening in March, where you can see more of these different areas. But if you are still interested in understanding more about customer success stories, right, the innovation award stories from SAP are a great resource. So for example, AMD also has built something really interesting with the generative AI hub and the BTP. Then we also have Accenture building like a financial analyst, supporting them in their areas. Sorry, going back to AMD because I didn't mention what they were building. They were building a supply chain troubleshooter application. So all of these things are really interesting and obviously quite company specific in that sense. But that is also where it makes sense, right? Because when you want to build something which is, your custom AI, it is really customer analyze everything. But on this other side, you can also choose, and these were like a couple of examples from great customer success stories where you want to maybe look more out, learn more about these.
Vodafone was a very interesting scenario, especially because the concern was about data security. And I know that a lot of customers, especially from the government side, they will challenge this question. Either we can deliver it on premises. Unfortunately, we have limitations, and large language models works only SaaS. And here, where some special agreements should come into place with the vendors from large language models, so that we can be sure that the data, corporative data, is securely stored somewhere rather than available for everybody in public. So this is a good example that it's possible and it's real, it's in production, and they use it and they share their story. So thank you for sharing it, because it will be proof. It's always good to have a real customer stories and examples rather than just listen about all the marketing information and stuff like published availably. So moving on, we touched a bit this topic already about the data readiness, and it always concerned, like, we have a lot of data internally, but we have duplicates, we have redundant data, we have something which we consider that incorrect data, and if we put everything into AI, what we could expect in the outcome. So how SAP can help, or do you have any recommendations on what steps customers should take to prepare their data for AI implementation? And to do it fast, because sometimes it's like a bottleneck. We ask about providing some historical data, and if we want to build own model, it can be like thousands of documents, and then the question from enterprise, where we will find this information. So are there any recommendations?
Yeah, so I think we touched upon it already. So I think one big thing is really the harmonization of data, right? You were talking about duplications and so on and so on, right? So there's a lot what you can do in terms of that, which we mainly can offer it as part of this product that we call SAP Data Sphere, where again you can harmonize your various data levels, bring it into like great like singular views, so have one thing as source of truth, but without ripping the data out of its context. And what I mean by this is that you obviously have this heterogeneous landscape. And if you, for example, there was this there was a strategy for a couple of years ago that you were taking the data, needed to create a duplication and put it then into one area. We believe that it's you lose actually a lot of the semantics and all of the different enrichment factors that come with it. And this is where we see more that data federation. So if you're not familiar with this terminology, think about that it's something like, something shooting out to this particular area, and it's kind of like taking the data with all of the semantics and enriched layers, and then brings it into this data fabric layer, so that again you have this like data layer that sits across it, and not ripping all of the data out of its context, but rather kind of enriching it with it and brings this information with it. And this is what we call SAP DataSphere. For example, in this space, we also have various different partnerships with, for example, Google or Databricks, to again facilitate more of this open ecosystem by bringing more like your different data points together and making it easier again to exactly address this point, what you were the concerns that the various different customers have. On top of this, I mean, one of the things that when you go on for example, a digital cloud transformation journey, is that you need to look at your master data, right? And we also have various different products that can help you exactly to look at these different endpoints, with one of those solutions that's called SAP Master Data Governance, that can help you exactly addressing these different master topic areas. And then obviously, when we go a bit more deeper in the database layer, I mentioned before about SAP HANA Cloud, can be also really of great value to address exactly these points in terms of a database layer, with various new functionalities in terms of also, we just had like earlier and internally also in few other we had our monthly enablement call internally, which I lead, and we had somebody talk about the great features and functionalities that come with it. For example, the newer innovations that are all also built in there. So really to make use and bring your data into this like database layer, that with other elasticity options and much more. So again, there is a lot what you can do out there, but obviously you need to define what makes the most sense for your organization, right? Because is it that you need to harmonize your data? Is it more that you want to bring it into like a solidified view in terms of a database layer? Is it that you want to look at your master data, right? So it's more about unfortunately, I do not have this one single source solution that I can give to you and say, like, these are the different steps. It's always very customer dependent. So I would say again here, look into what is needed for you. I personally just have seen also somebody coming back to the BTP Innovation Day. I can't really share the customer name, but I do want to highlight there was one customer that has spoken about their DataSphere journey, and it was so inspiring to see of what they have been able to do, by saying in the beginning they thought it would be nothing for them, because we're like, this is not something which we actually got recommended. And then later on they were like, oh, these are all the different features and functionalities, especially these self-serving capabilities to the business, right? Where it's not always you from an IT side, you need to prepare the data, or your data team, but that they actually could provide these different data products in the organization, so that people could build on top of this. And some other parts where you also can, for example, monetize your data, so selling your AI, so your data in an anonymous way as a data product to other organizations as part of a data marketplace. And these various different features was really interesting to see, obviously, when customers speak about these things, right? It's one thing when we speak about it, but it's another way when actually you can see also the various assessment that the customer has been undergoing. They had like really star rating in terms of, okay, how good is the product or not in comparison to the others. They had a rigorous RFP process for selecting the vendor to help them implement these things. So it's really interesting just to hear these different stories and the messages that comes with it. So again, I would say have a look out also on our website or on the SAP Discovery Center, because there's various different other customer success stories as well about these particular topics, for especially about data readiness. So a great shout out there to maybe get more information and obviously speak to us right here in the call. If you want to reach out, I know that obviously you're smiling right now, but I know that you have a lot of capable people that also can help with this topic.
Sure, and we will attach the link additionally to our description of this podcast episode, so people also can check and see these customer success stories on the Discovery Center. And it seems that like other business have any specific data strategies or objectives, how they would like to prepare their data for AI implementation. SAP covers almost everything. So I believe that now it's the right time to switch to more technical side of our conversation and cover architecture question. So you mentioned that BTP has a lot of different tools that helps business to create something on their own even, or utilize something which is available out of the box. But when we have a lot of different applications, a lot of different like SAP models, solutions, how to make it all work together with one AI, and how should business approach the transition to composable architecture, and especially with complex, customized ERP solutions or any other SAP solutions that they use.
So I think let's maybe first determine what like the term composable architecture means. So it's like a software design approach that focuses on how you're actually building applications. And what that means is that you have various different applications that have their specific functions, but they can be combined with others that can be replaced or scaled independently without even impacting all of the other areas. So that obviously goes for then greater flexibility and easier maintenance, because if you can simply switch or scale or replace something, right, that makes it easier. So I would say really the modularity between these, the loosely coupling, because again, they're obviously connect, but they're not completely dependent on each other. The scalability and the flexibility are really the majority of why customers specifically like to look into this more modular architecture view. So we at SAP believe in this as well. So that is also why when we look at our whole different portfolio, you can see exactly that as one of the strategies going into the material. Obviously now looking back into your question, the business technology platform exactly as also that, because it has this modular approach. You decide of where you want to put something in. Where does it make sense to build an application? Is it in your HR space? Is it in your finance space? Is it in your supply chain space? Where do you want to actually build a connection out, right? This kind of like loosely coupled, for example, bringing this integration point between these different points together. There's, for example, also a newer technology on the market that's called event-driven architecturing, where you have a broker in the middle. And this is just basically, instead of having several different integrations, which, for example, from application A to B, and from B to C, and then from A to B again, right, that you actually just have one integration layer, which is called a broker. And then these different applications can subscribe to this broker. And whenever there's a new update, it gets sent to the broker, and then the broker can distribute that out to the other applications. So that's, for example, one which is really was really well adopted now in terms of the likeliness of getting really even real-time information, right? Because what happens if you, for example, are in a store and want to purchase something, and then you actually see something else online, and then there's obviously this kind of discrepancy. If somebody already purchased online, goes then to the shop to pick it up, but it's not anymore there because in the meantime somebody else has bought it, right? So you really need this real-timeness nowadays to facilitate great integration. But obviously now, in terms of this kind of modularity approach, the BTP itself has also these various different components. So when you obviously look now into the wider ERP and how to customize applications, you do not want that you build, first of all, like customizations that are completely somewhere else, right? And not connected to your organization. But at the same time, you don't want them to build them directly into, we call it the core, so directly into the application, because then again, if you, for example, have a software upgrade, it's quite difficult then to do these upgrades without having a lot of adjustments to do when you're going through the upgrades. So that's why we believe in a more side-by-side approach. So there are various different ways of how you can also build customizations directly in the core. Do not want to go into too much detail, but then again, there are also various different ways of how you can build it more in a side-by-side approach. And with the side-by-side approach, there are we actually announced at TechEd that there's now the one extension platform, and that's called SAP Build, which gives you a variety of different tooling from like no-code to low-code tools where you really easily can drag and drop, over to like pro coding tools with Java, JavaScript, and now new also ABAP. So literally all in one place in a unified developer environment. So whichever person you are, in terms of more like a business person who likes drag and drop, or somebody who is a Java developer or ABAP, you have all of it in one place. So yeah, in terms of the how to simplify it is obviously really by having this modular architecture, so it's easier to scale and facilitate also changes. But then also when you build customizations, you ideally want them to be upgrade safe, and this is what we call this clean core approach.
All right. Actually, I heard about some updates for BTP build, and I heard that it's possible for ABAP, for example, to have some kind of guidance, like suggestions about what piece of code you need to implement into your coding practices, so that make it even better. And I also heard that it's even possible with no code, low code tools that on BTP create even business website. So I can imagine, like, for example, for the marketing department who would like to fast launch some landing pages to attract new customers, it will be much easier if it's no code, low code, and they can do it even themselves with their creativity. So it's fascinating, really. Um,
Yeah, so I think the ABAP part, sorry, just to quickly react on this, the ABAP part is really interesting because now we have ABAP Explain. What I often have with some customers that the ABAP code was written from somebody a couple of years ago, but now this person doesn't work anymore in the company, and they're like, "What does this code mean?" You know, or maybe you do not have too many ABAP developers around. So this is then where you can now do like highlight it and click right click and then explain me this code, and then Jewel will be able to help you to explain this code, or even to help, it will help you to, when you're writing code, to think about, oh, do you want to write this, and then it suggests you what that code would be, and then you can go to the next step. So that's really interesting. And in terms of the local parts, yes, I mean, there will be you already can build business websites with or solution that's called SB Workzone. I've seen supplier sites, internal websites. So it's really interesting to see that how it's used in various different areas. And again, I think that's also the beauty of like low code, no code, because again, you can quickly have like really quickly. I mean, I've seen customers doing it like 2 to 3 weeks, but from idea to having the application live. And this is something, right, that we were not able to do it before, right? Because there's a lot of coding normally involved and making sure that's integrated, making sure that all the underlying data structures are there. This is all what we're now getting much quicker turnarounds with these various other approaches. Obviously, it can't answer the whole world in terms of low code capabilities because there needs to be some form of guidance. But there's also a way then also how you can build code in there as well, but let's not go into that. But it just saying that obviously you can really quickly build something up, but it doesn't give you the whole tooling as you like the whole flexibility as maybe somebody who's a real like developer would like to. But definitely a great option for businesses or like for other departments to quickly build something out.
the barriers are lower right now. Everybody can deal.
Yeah, barriers are lower.
Technologies are rapidly evolving. So I heard from one of the customer objection, like if every time you deliver something new, like we can't adopt such technologies because there are so many new technologies, and every time we're just thinking like how we can apply those technologies. How does SAP ensure that the current solutions will remain relevant, useful, and cost efficient?
Yeah. So obviously AI is evolving. And I mean, I love to take this example that when you think about how long Netflix took to get to, I think 1 million users. I need to get this straight now, the numbers different ones, but I think it was like something around like 3.5 years. And if you compare this now with Threads, for example, how long did Threads take to get to 1 million users? It was an hour. Okay. So I think just like thinking about, I mean, these two companies are not too long, like away from it. Obviously, Netflix is older than Threads, but it's just like things are evolving crazy fast. And this is also where we are trying to obviously stay up and stay relevant in terms of bringing the new technologies in. I mean, just seeing at the roadmap in terms of what we already have delivered and already is out of the box available in terms of AI, on generative AI use cases. We just actually set at Sapphire, which is around July time, that we will deliver 100 generative AI use cases by the end of the year. We actually did deliver them 2 weeks ago. So even we are trying to like keep up with the game in terms of developing and being faster. But I do obviously understand that this is also challenging them for customers in terms of, okay, where should I start? Where should I invest? What should I go for? So that that also these solutions stay relevant. I think in terms of, let me answer this question maybe with often I get the question, is the BTP even strategically relevant? And I can only say that at SAP, we are like 110,000 employees. And I think around 15 work for the BTP space, 15,000. Okay, so I think to answer that, and I mean I mentioned before, right? The BTP has these various different portfolios, right, in terms of the different pillars. So it is definitely strategically relevant in terms of, for example, investing in or building things with the BTP. So that said, it has been around for now, what is it? I think like almost 5 years, and we haven't changed that. So because a lot of people always come to us like, oh, you're doing changes to it and so on and so on. No, this hasn't actually changed too much. So, but obviously, I think you do not. I think a lot of customers also like, okay, which one should I go for? Because I do not know which area to invest in. Because obviously things are changing. So I would just say again, you need to decide which area makes the most sense to you. And with sense, I obviously mean business value. Which area would give you the most business value out of it? So for example, if you are interested in investing in some kind of like embedded AI features, right? This is fairly easy because you can activate this by switching it on, but you also then, if you, for example, do not see the business value, you could also switch it off. Similar with BTP services as well, again, right? We have this very like consumption-based model because you purchase credits, and these credits can be used across various different services. So again, you can determine, okay, let's try this service out. If you don't see the business value or do not like it, you then again can switch it off. So this is also a bit where you can actually determine the own relevance, right? And also oversee the whole cost effectiveness. Does it actually make sense for what business value you get out of it or not, right? So there's various different ways of or we also give tools to our customers. Similar also in the AI space again, where it works with AI units. So you purchase AI units, and then these AI units you can leverage for various different AI solutions, embedded AI solutions across every line of business, right? So this is again, if it doesn't matter if it's finance or HR and so on. So you have these units, and then you can decide where does it make the most sense for you again. And you will also see in terms of the cost effectiveness, where do you get the most business value out of it. So obviously technology is evolving, but that's a good thing as well, because if we would not evolving, if we would be stopping, then there would be no tomorrow. So I think I also urge this to every customer, don't be the next Nokia in some way. You obviously need to look ahead. You need to define your particular AI strategy, and whatever strategy you have, this is then also how you can decide where to invest in and where it makes the most sense for you to invest in. Then obviously have these hard numbers in terms of like how much did it actually generate for you. And if these numbers are not hit, then obviously change it. But so far what we have seen is that that we will see a big difference in terms of customers using AI versus customers who are not using AI.
I believe that consumption-based approach is really cost-efficient because imagine you purchased a laptop and you don't like it, and then you try to sell it back, and you need to sell it somewhere on the marketplace or whatever. You can't bring it back to the store and say like, hey, I don't like it, I would like to use another one. And here you have a variety of tools, and the business can just try it out. If they don't like, they change, but they know that there is a market where a lot of different tools, and they can always try it and find the best fit for them. This is very good. And speaking about innovations, about new technologies, the trend of this year is, of course, automation with agents, autonomous enterprises with AI agents. Could you explain SAP's vision for autonomous enterprises and AI agents?
Yeah, so AI agents are obviously one of the next big thing topics that at the moment are very hot. So in case somebody does not understand what AI agents are right now, so AI agents think about them as smart assistants that can interactively, like autonomously interact with their environment, but have a very specific goal and can reason through multiple steps. So what I mean by this is, think about like one agent that might be really good in a planning approach. They can schedule reminders, they can plan out what should be the steps. But then you maybe have another agent that's really good in terms of with emails, picking up emails and reading through them, understanding the sentiments and so on. And then maybe you have another one that's really good with invoices, or another one that's really good with customer support cases. And all of these different agents, they have their specific area where they're trained in, where they reason through multiple steps, where they interact with their environment and have the specific goal that they should achieve. And think about now, if these agents would be working together. So how much you can really automate your enterprise and make it much more efficient. And this is where we also see us evolving. So at TechEd, we launched a Joule Studio where you will be able to actually create also your own AI agents. But our vision in itself is we are building agents out, and we will make them part of a business AI agents overview where you can actually read through them. Okay, what does this one agent do? For example, a finance collection agent. You can see, okay, what it would be doing. You can activate it, and then you can assign it to one particular person. And then this person can try it out and evaluate, is that a good agent to have? So they would be opening up Joule, and then this agent would be already running in the background, detecting a lot of things of what is meant for to be built. And this is really powerful in terms of that, you didn't need to do a lot. You just woke up maybe in the morning, you take your coffee, you get to your computer, and you're like, oh, the agent already identified 2 problems. Okay, how? And it already gave you also solutions of how to solve these problems. I mean, right? This is where we're seeing the future heading. But again, we also give you the possibility then to build your own AI agents. So again, remember the silver platter and the toolbox, I would say now. We give you the silver platter where you can consume and just use these AI agents, but we also give you the tools to build them yourself. And it's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to what more is coming in this space.
Thank you for explaining to our audience what are the AI agents. And I like your example. And personally, I heard the example that the difference between current technology and AI agents, that right now we are managing AI and outcomes, and in the future when we will have agents, and it's actually going right now, as you mentioned on Joule, it's already available, we are basically delegating our stuff. So something which is patterned, we don't need to do it every time because we can teach agent and they will execute it in backend, and we will just need to validate it or prove. Like sometimes the actions are dangerous for execution. Like if something will cause some loss in our revenue, of course, me as an user, I would like to double check the results of agent and confirm that yes, I would like to execute this action. But if no, it can do it just in the backend without any intervention from the human. And another example that I personally like to use, it's like thinking about AI agents and previous copilots or assistants, like in this way. When you are hungry and you want to eat, and you have 2 options. First of all, you can, for example, to find a recipe book and following the instructions, cook something for yourself. And the second option, you can hire the chief who can come to your place and cook something special for you. So the chief is AI agent, like they will do something as per your needs, as per your wishes, of course, if you will train them right. All right, so it was so fascinating for me to talk to you about all this stuff around AI, especially about business AI that SAP has, BTP platform, and what tools it provides to our users. And I believe that all this information will be also very valuable for our audience. Vivien, I would like to thank you so much for being with us today. As always, we are just one click away. Please contact us at CLARITY.SHOW. Thank you for listening and see you at the next episode. Welcome to Clarity Quote to Cash podcast. My guest is Vivien Boche.
So we have these three guiding principles: relevant, responsible, and reliable.